My first instrument, although I didn't take official lessons, was the piano. My dad plays the piano. So in the house, of course, when he wasn't playing it, I was banging on it, and there's a picture of me with my father's glasses on, and I put up a checkerboard for my sheet music. And my mom took a picture of that a lot of my friends get a kick out of seeing, you know what I mean? But it was a piano, and then at the age of 8 in the Brooklyn public school system, they offered us a recorder, which is a little wind instrument. And I played that for a couple of years. And then at 10, they offered me the clarinet. And so since I was already playing the recorder, my dad wouldn't let me switch to drums. They'd offered the drums also, but he said, you already played the recorder, clarinet's the next step. So I listened to him. I played the clarinet. A year later, they advanced me to saxophone as well, because if you play clarinet, saxophone is very related, very similar. So playing the clarinet and the saxophone, a little piano, and then I played the bass. I played my first note on the bass at the age of 12 and said, this is it, this is me, and I took off from there. I never stopped with the clarinet. Matter of fact, I played the clarinet all the way through college because at that time, in the middle 70s, the bass guitar was a relatively new instrument, and there was no method for it. There was no course that you could take in school. So I played the clarinet officially in school, and then in the street bands and R&B bands, I played the bass guitar. Well, I was about to go to the conservatory in New York for the clarinet. And the summer before I was to go to the conservatory, I was like, you know what am I doing? You know what I mean? Am I going to spend the rest of my life playing classical clarinet? And I wasn't that good on the bass, but I was already working all the time, and it just seemed like a much easier path. So instead of going to the conservatory, I decided to just go to a regular liberal arts college. I went to Queens College in New York and played the clarinet there, but I'm starting to work more and more on the bass. And after a few years at Queens College, the work was so plentiful and so lucrative that I said, you know what, I gotta leave. So I left and went exclusively into playing the bass. A few years later, I started working with Miles Davis. A few years after that, I started writing music for him and arranging music. And I was listening to his music, and I was thinking about his history, because I tried, even though the stuff that I wrote for Miles was contemporary for the time, I always wanted to include elements from his past. Like I would use soft brass from his cool period, or I would use some harmonies that would remind you of what Herbie did with him in the 60s. And I wanted to use a bass clarinet from his time in the 70s, because Benny Maupin used to play some really cool bass clarinet stuff on those 70s Miles albums. And I was with my wife, and I was, threatening. I said, "Get me a bass clarinet," And that next Christmas, there was a bass clarinet under the tree for me, which was fantastic. So I put it together. It's not an easy instrument to play, even if you already play clarinet. So I was squeaking and squawking all Christmas Day. I'm sure she regretted having given it to me. But I eventually started to get it together. And while we were working on Miles's stuff, I would sometimes take it and I would add bass clarinet, playing what Miles played, maybe 2 octaves below him. You know what I mean? And it was a really cool sound, and I really got into it, and Miles really liked it. And that was kind of my reintroduction to the clarinet, and I started incorporating it into what I do. And at this point, it's like, like a second voice for me. It sounds really weird, but somehow it works well with electronics. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like it belongs there, because it's just a really unique sound, particularly in the low register. Hey, what's happening? It's Marcus Miller. If you want to hear more interviews or see more videos, you know where you got to go, JazzTimes.com.